At the University of Michigan, our dear friend Tim Miller, contributor to The Bulwark and former communications director for Jeb Bush, and NBC News senior reporter Ben Collins, who covers disinformation and extremism on the internet. Justin, Target, just like Bud Light, is not abandoning supporting LGBTQ issues. They have been an ally, a leading ally, for a decade. But what they don't want to be, which is basically what almost no CEO wants to be right now, is Disney. Bob Iger is one of the only people out there who wants to go head-to-head with a governor. So how difficult is this for corporate America to be an ally right now?
Stephanie, I think you actually hit the nail right on the head there. And I'm going to say you're an excellent economist for doing so. Look, what does the companies want to do? They just want to sell stuff. And if you make stuff, even stuff with rainbow flags that people want to buy, companies are happy to sell it. We do have groups all the time who protest by boycotting, and that's their democratic right to do so. The thing that's fundamentally different about the current moment is, in fact, Ron DeSantis and what he's doing in Florida, what he's doing with Disney. I remember a time when my Republican friends talked about the problems of big government, but this is a jackbooted big government stomping right down in the middle of markets and capitalism, where an earlier class of Republicans thought the government just didn't belong. Look, I'm with my libertarian friends. I don't want the government deciding for me what is on the shelves of Target and what theme park I can go to and what's profitable for businesses to pursue.
Tim, these companies aren't woke. They want to sell product. They know what Gen Z wants to buy. They know who they want to employ, and they want to make the most amount of money they can. How difficult is it going to be right now? Because if you do pull back, like a Target or a Bud Light or Anheuser-Busch, you're now looked at as anti-LGBTQ.
Yeah, I think it's really complicated for these companies, frankly, Stephanie. I'm glad I'm not in corporate PR anymore and having to deal with this because, you know, what I think that there are two things that they're trying to deal with, right? There's the political threats, the ramifications, as just what we're talking about some of these Republicans who have eschewed their classical libertarian economic policies in favor of a more authoritarian economic policy that threatens companies that are willing to do anything to speak out against conservative, I don't even know if I'd like to use that word, but the more traditionalist, revanchist worldview that they're pushing. But they also have to worry about physical threats and violence. I think this was a real issue for Target right now, right? You have these pride displays are at the front of the stores, and they even said in some of the red parts of the country, in certain parts of the country, there was vandalism, there was people acting rowdy in the stores. They were worried about their employees' safety, and I think as Ben I'm sure can speak to, like this radicalization chain, the radicalization pipeline that a lot of these folks are going down on the MAGA right and on the extremely far right is putting people in a position where they have to have legitimate concerns that there will be one-off crazy actors who get triggered by the pride display. And in some of these states like Florida and Tennessee, for example, that are just passing constitutional carry, now they can be carrying firearms in Target parking lots, sometimes in Target stores, depending on the laws in the state. So I think that there are legitimate, concerns that the companies have, about that side of this equation as well.
Isn't that astounding? Seeing a rainbow flagged sweatshirt triggers you? Astounding. How about just don't purchase it if you don't like it? Ben, how widespread is this? Because here's the thing with the deceiving and power of the internet. One could see these videos and think this is happening at Targets across the country, but it's really not that big of a group. They're just loud.
It's a very coordinated plan. Can I read you a tweet that really sums this whole thing up? It's from last month. This is after the Bud Light stuff happened, but before the Target stuff happened, before they decided to target Target. It's a guy named Matt Walsh. Oh, I lost him. Anyways, he's gone. But he said very basically, this is a coordinated plan that we're going to do with all of these people. We're going to go after each of these companies, regardless of, if they've done something or not in this situation. And we're going to target them if they are pro-Pride during Pride Month. We're gonna target these companies one by one. That's what they did with Bud Light, by the way. This was a 45-second Instagram ad that they paid for. It was just a sponsored post. And that's all it took for the Bud Light stuff. With Target, they're going after this company because of a T-shirt they think they sell. And they don't actually sell it.
But that's also the humor of the Bud Light thing.
Yeah.
Anheuser-Busch, Budweiser, has been an ally of LGBTQ for years and years. But they just chose this one individual thing to target and blow it up. Justin, to that point, though, if you're Target and you cave here, this is a slippery slope because this anti-LGBTQ movement, they're not going to stop here. They want to sue every company out there that has any sort of diversity and inclusion initiative.
Yeah, I think there's something really quite scary here. And it comes from the Target CEO saying the reason they were backing off is they were worried about the safety of their employees. So, look, one of two things are true. It could be they're cowards and they use that as protection and a smokescreen so that they could make a cowardly decision. Or it could be that they're actually genuinely concerned about the well-being of their employees and they've had credible threats. And if that's the case, when Target caves into this, then it says that the moment you threaten the employees of even a very large corporation, you get to control its policies. This is economic terrorism, literally terrorism, creating fear among the workers and forcing the corporations to sell the things you want and not sell the things you don't. So I think it's very worrying. I do wonder that if Target has a corporate social responsibility, and here I mean beyond its commitments to diversity, I also mean to the broader business community. If it gives in here, everyone else and everyone else's employees have to look out that they'll be being looked at next.
Ben, you want to weigh in? I mean, every company out there has a corporate social responsibility arm. Diversity and inclusion is a key initiative. They're just going to go after everyone?
Yeah, here's that tweet. He said, this is Matt Walsh, a far-right commentator. Here's what we should do. Pick a victim and gang up on it and make an example of it. We can't boycott every woke company or even most of them. But we can pick one. It hardly matters which. He actually said that. And target it with a ruthless boycott campaign. Claim one scalp, then move on to the next. That's what it's all about. It doesn't matter which company it is. They're going to, try to make their stock price dip, which worked for Target.
For a moment.
For a second. But again, they get to say they won. That's all that matters. This is a brief narrative viral thing. And I think it's very important to note that this is a very online movement. They call it terminally online, right? People who just can't, process stuff in the real world. They are trying to get things to trend on Twitter, which is their favorite site now. They're trying to get viral memes onto Truth Social and Facebook. But in the real world, who cares?
Yeah, honestly, don't buy it.
Just don't buy it. Just don't look at it. Just move along. And they have to push these lies to feed this stuff. They have to say everything is actually in the children's department. It isn't. This pride stuff is not. Like they said there was a tuck bathing suit, which is what a trans person wear. They said that was in the children's department. It wasn't. They said there was a shirt that said Satan respects pronouns. They never sold it. Target never sold that shirt. These are just viral memes because they need to support this online community that is getting increasingly radical and increasingly angry. And the stakes have to go up, and they have to find a new target every few weeks because the show's got to go on.
Tim, here's the problem. 5 years ago, it was actually corporate America that led the way on a lot of these initiatives. Remember when the bathroom bill was trying to go forward, and you saw the NBA, you saw Salesforce, all these companies saying, we're picking up and we are moving out. But now, for the most part, companies are exhausted and scared and don't want to be in the middle of identity politics, and they're pulling out. How dangerous is that?
I think it is. And just to use one specific example, look at North Carolina with that bathroom bill. Pat McCrory was the Republican governor at the time. It was the Republican governor who was punished politically for the bathroom bill. There was such a big backlash among moderate Republicans, and then the far right within the state got mad at him for backing down and moderating. Right, so it was him that got stuck between the rock and the hard place. Now, all of the MAGA Republican politicians are on offense on this. But here's the thing. These are not popular moves in the states that they need to win. I promise you, in the Atlanta and Phoenix suburbs, where they're going to need to win elections, if they want to ever win the presidency or take back the Senate again, like the voters are not clamoring for politicians to punish Target over the rainbow visor. Like, these are losers. So I do think that the Democrats need to once again go back on offense on these issues and really engage on them in a more aggressive fashion, because I'm telling you, it is not popular, as they've done in Florida and Tennessee now, that you can, as a senior in high school, you can buy an AR-15, but you can't learn about the birds and the bees. You can't go to a drag brunch, but you can buy an AR-15. And these are losing issues. I think that if the Democrats push back, more aggressively on this, then I think then corporate America will also feel like they're on more stable ground. Right now they feel like they're really under siege from one side.